We all have that food growing up that's able to take us way back as soon as you get one bite. And for me, that's banh mi. Before we went vegan, the order was always the same. It starts with a French crispy loaf that's airy and chewy in the inside, 2 spreads of Vietnamese ba, an egg yolk rich mayonnaise, an umami packed and irony pate spread, layers and layers of cha lua, which is a meaty pork cold cut, and lastly, do chua, pickled carrots and daikons, bringing that sweet and sour pop back. But since going vegan, I've still yet to find any banh mi that delivers all these elements in the same fashion. And that's why I've taken it upon myself to deliver the most authentic, plant-based vegan banh mi. On top of all that, I've gathered 3 non-vegan Vietnamese food experts to determine if my banh mi truly captures the essence of this beloved dish. Mary, my little sister and self-proclaimed foodie, Martha, my older sister, owner and cook at Viet-inspired Little Sizzle, and lastly, the judge I'm most worried about, my mother. She's the best Viet home cook I know and also has years eating banh mi on the actual streets of Saigon. Alright, to make the best vegan banh mi possible, I'm gonna have to know exactly what I'm up against, what's missing, what I can improve on, and what exactly is possible already. We're gonna need to do some research, and the first stop for that is Saigon Lotus. To my knowledge, the best and only place that you can get your hands on a fully vegan banh mi in Toronto. I sat in the back near the kitchen, so it was quite loud, so I'm gonna narrate what I'm saying. They have so many vegan options on the menu. You can see they have lettuce, pickled carrots and daikons, cucumbers and hoisin, and below are all the different banh mi varieties. I asked the waiter what his recommendation was and ended up ordering the barbecue meat banh mi, also the most popular item on the menu. Let's try this vegan banh mi. The gluten is always super meaty and chewy. Great barbecue flavor. The hoisin just seeps into the bread. They have most of the accoutrement that make it a fundamental banh mi. It's got carrots, daikon, cilantro, cucumber. The only thing I can say is that they're missing cha lua, even though they do serve it here and it's very good. I'm also not seeing pate, which I used to always get before I went vegan. And I also don't taste Viet ba. Seeing all these missing elements that I used to crave before going vegan is the ultimate motivator for creating the ultimate banh mi. Their banh mi is good, but it's not quite the banh mi that I used to eat. Okay, now that we know what's missing and are familiar with all the elements, let's start making the baguette part of the banh mi. I'm following this recipe from Huy Nguyen since baking and cooking are 2 different skills, and I'll leave this one to the pros. I added yeast, salt, and sugar, and also nutritional yeast in place of the ascorbic acid. I'm not sure if this made a difference, so you can actually omit it if you like. The recipe called for bread flour, so I used regular all-purpose flour with a tablespoon of vital wheat gluten to increase the protein content and also the stretchiness. After mixing the dough for several minutes, the texture should be super stretchy. I shaped the dough into balls and stuck it into an oiled bowl. Cover with a moist towel and let rest for 20 minutes. Do yourself a favor and don't let the towel touch the dough, or you will end up in a sticky situation.
I'll call you Sticky. Cause you're sticky and you're stuck.
Since I've never made banh mi from scratch before, this is just one of the many mistakes I've made, so you don't have to. If you find it helpful or at least mildly amusing, please like and subscribe. Next, I split the dough into 6 pieces by cutting in half, marking, and cutting into 3. Shape them into little roly-poly-olies, and then place them into an oiled large sheet pan. Cover with plastic wrap and let rest for 20 minutes. Welcome back to Dough Unboxing. Today's episode, dough. Now, we want to form the balls into torpedo shapes to get that iconic banh mi taper. You do that by flattening the dough and shaping it into an isosceles triangle. Look at us learning about shapes. I love Google. I found myself kneading the dough and laughing in a corner like a crazy person. Roll and push and roll and push. Repeat like so and make sure it's tight. Next, I place the dough into an oven and let proof for an hour, spraying with water every 15 minutes. This is so easy, right? Wrong. I made the unfortunate mistake of forgetting the dough in the oven after the last proof for over 3 hours. I tried to salvage the dough making score marks with a serrated knife, even though it called for a razor, and of course it only made it worse. The baguette was only half the desired volume when I cooked it, and I was so upset with myself since the bread took so many rests and little steps to complete. It didn't actually raise again when we put in the oven, so it's smaller than it should be. Listen to this. It's like very hard. I don't think it's airy on the inside. The next morning, I made the recipe again, but this time I focused on my timeliness and my accuracy. This time, I learned from my previous mistakes, allowing the dough to rise, spraying actually every 15 minutes, and not forgetting. And the dough actually rose double the amount. Extra tip, space the buns very far apart from each other, or they will get stuck to each other, and handling risen dough with sausage fingers like mine will result in a weird looking bun. I added a couple slashes this time with a sharp razor, and the dough actually didn't deflate. This is the final result. Look at that plumpy boy. Alright, let's make the dochua, aka pickled veggies. Hopefully this recipe is easy because I've seen my mom do it 100 times. This one's so essential to Vietnamese cooking, so I know if I mess this up, all the ancestors are going to be rolling in their grave.
Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow.
First, cut off the ends of a large carrot and daikon, peel, cut it in half, and use a mandolin and slice the carrots and daikon into 1/4 inch slices. Then come back and cut them into matchsticks. Prep the vegetables by massaging them with salt. This step helps the dochua become more flexible and bouncy while also pulling excess moisture out. Get a forearm pump going as you squeeze those carrots and daikons. After thoroughly massaging the carrots and daikons, remove the excess liquid and give it a good old rinse. To make the pickling brine, I use a simple ratio of 1 part sugar, 2 parts vinegar, and 2 parts water. 1, 2, 2. Mix up that brine until the sugar is dissolved, and now you can begin jarring the vegetables. Into the jar, shove as much carrots and daikons in as possible. Transform your arm into a hydraulic press, and push down with the force of, oh I don't know, just enough to collapse into a supermassive black hole. Pour in the pickling brine until it covers the top of the veggies. It's too much. Stick it into the fridge overnight, and you're done. Alrighty, for the pate, quarter up some cremini mushrooms and slice 2 shallots. Add both to a hot pan with vegan butter. Pan fry until you see all the moisture from the mushroom has been cooked off and you begin to smell those caramelized shallots. If you have any fresh herbs or spices, you can add those as well. I had oregano and thyme. I poured the cooked mushrooms into a food processor, add a cup of cashews and 2 cups of lentils, and you have an aromatic, smooth and creamy base. Oh my god, the herb smells so good in that. In order to closely mimic pate, I added beetroot powder for that pale hue of red, vegan butter for extra richness, and marmite for that deep liver-like irony flavor. Ooh, watch that color turn red.
Yes! No!
I added a teaspoon of lemon juice for freshness and a teaspoon of Maggi seasoning for the extra umami kick. Because remember, we're still working with just plain vegetables. I added another teaspoon of garlic powder for flavor and lots of black pepper for that earthiness. Jar it up with vegan butter on top, mimicking that fat layer from pate, and let's see how it tastes. This will definitely do. It's super creamy, savory. It's every note that I needed to. Got this one first try. On to the chalua, aka pork cold cuts. It all starts with a strange ingredient you probably never heard of, bean curd sheets. It's essentially just soy skin extracted from the process of boiling soy milk. You can see that the whole bag has 90 grams of protein. For only $7.99, I still don't get how people say vegan diets are expensive. To start, I soak the sheets in water for 30 minutes to soften them and drain all the water. I continue to add water and squeeze out any yellow tinted water about 3 times to get that pale white look that chalua tends to have. But if you don't care about aesthetics, this is completely unnecessary. I got a little carried away and began obliterating the sheets. I thought I was saving myself a step since later I'd have to slice them anyways, but you'll see what happens next. I then massage the soy skins with salt, denaturing the protein and making it more tender. Rinse and drain so it's not too salty. We boil the sheets with a guesstimated teaspoon of baking soda to help the pieces mesh together later when we're steaming it. This is my first time working with bean curd sheets, so naturally, it went horribly wrong. I added way too much baking soda and boiled it way too long. When I strained the sheets, I could already tell they were looking way too mushy, but I carried on hoping it would fix itself. To season the ham, I crushed black peppercorns in a mortar and pestle, and splitting it into 2 at a minimum is actually the perfect size since testing whole peppercorns was way too bitter for my taste. Additionally, I added sugar and this pork seasoning I bought from the Asian market. It's actually very useful for recipes like this since it creates a good base of salt and umami. In order to impart that iconic floral banana leaf flavor, you can't skimp on the wrapper. I use these frozen banana leaves you can find at any good Asian market. I let mine soak in water so they can thaw out, and I recommend dabbing them dry so they're not so slippery when you work with them. For each chalua, you're going to need 1 large square sheet and 4 narrow rectangular sheets. I have to be honest, the first time rolling this was a complete mess. And the second and the third time. It wasn't tight like I wanted it to be, and the juices were just leaking everywhere. But somehow I found a way to wrap these up and seal them with an elastic band. I was losing my mind. And it's no understatement to say that these elastic bands were holding my hopes and dreams together. I stuck everything into a steamer and cooked it for 3 hours. And this is how it came out. I'm gonna try out this vegan chalu. I've never made this before and it's been resting overnight, so I hope that the texture has been firmed up and it's gonna be nice and delicious and meaty, just like how I remember. Smells so good from the banana leaf. Ooh, that looks good. One side was more tightened than other, so it looks kind of like a head. Very jiggly. Let's try it out. Seems like kind of loose. It's not like the texture I'd want it to be. It has congealed together, so that's nice. Too soft. The flavor's okay. The banana leaf brings a lot to it. Tastes a little bitter actually. I think it's because when I was steaming it, I ran out of water and then it started smoking. I think I'm gonna have to make this all over again. God damn it. So I need to make more chewy, less soft, and I need to get rid of the smoky flavor. But I think the other components are good. Let's do it again. I knew I was doing something wrong, so it's time for a research montage.
Cân hoặc là mình chia làm hai phần bằng nhau cũng được. Mình để ở đây cho nó nghỉ khoảng 15 phút cho. Sau đó mình sẽ lấy cây chả ha. Mình lấy ra và mình để ở tờ giấy nướng bánh và mình cuốn lại.
Oh wow, did you guys see that? She put the bean curd sheet inside of a bag, let it set, and then it kind of congealed together on its own and didn't fall apart when she took it out. I need to do that. This time, I washed the sheets very gently and then cut them into long strips, measured out my baking soda, and counted 30 seconds exactly. 1, 2, 3. The texture was so much better, loose but not mushy. After seasoning the same as last time, I used the bag trick to help form the sheets into a log. These Ziploc bags were a perfect size. I found it useful to zip 3/4 of the bag and then roll tightly while also squeezing out the air, and at the very end, zipping up the final bit. I secured it with an elastic and stuck it in the freezer for 10 minutes. This trick definitely helped the sheets maintain their shape while rolling. If your banana leaf splits like mine, that's perfectly fine. Just get another leaf and patch up any holes. While conducting my research, I also found the best way to fold the sides. Crease the leaf on the inside, fold over one side, and then the next. Grab the prepared long banana leaves and place it in a cross. Next, place the folded side down jalua on top. Pick up those loose leaves and seal everything with an elastic band. Do the same with the opposite side, and you're officially Vietnamese in my book. I made sure this time to fill the pot with double the water, propping up the steamer basket with a clay bowl to ensure nothing is burning. And this is the final result. All right, new day, new batch. Let's try this out. Hopefully it's more meaty than yesterday's. Check that out. Ooh, it didn't fully congeal together, but the texture is definitely a lot better. Let's do this. There. It has that bounce in the mouth, the meatiness. That's pretty good. And those little peppercorns are like flavor bombs. It might be polarizing, but I personally enjoy it. The heterogeneity is really fun. Oh yeah, the inside actually firmed up a lot more. You can see that there's none of that like striation from the outside. It's all one dense piece, which is exactly what I wanted. Mission success. Yeah, that's my thumb. After tasting it, I had a genius moment. I could improve the taste and texture by frying the outside, transforming this jalua into jalua chiên, aka fried ham. My personal favorite jalua variation. For the Viet Ba, to some veggie oil, I added nooch, sugar, salt, and MSG. But most importantly, this potent black salt, which is able to mimic that distinct egg aroma. I slowly added more oil until I realized the emulsion wasn't forming since there weren't any binders. I tried using xanthan gum, but that didn't seem to do much. Adding some mustard and extra water did seem to help. I also added this comfy onion oil for additional flavor. I found out the cold oil gelled better. It was thicker the next day and lasted longer when you blended it. Eventually, it would still become runny, but I was okay with that, since I knew it was going to be gone in one day. Finally, the moment has come. After a long and wild journey of discovery, testing, and failure, the seemingly endless reminiscence of my flavors of youth will come to an end. It's time to assemble the most mouth-watering vegan banh mi you've ever seen. Alright, finally. Now that we completed all those elements, we gotta taste it ourselves. Totally not because it looks delicious. All in a day's work, just some quality control.
Mm-hmm.
The jalo jean is chewy and meaty. The pate is like really irony and delicious. The chua, you add a good amount of it, so it's like sweet and sour. It balances out the entire sandwich, and the bread is like really crusty and airy.
It's really good. It tastes like the banh mi that I remember, but when you make it yourself, you get to decide how much of each filling you want inside. So it's definitely loaded, like you didn't skimp out on any of the toppings. And the bread is really nice, the texture of it.
I'm really happy with the pate. It's like meaty and really creamy and like a buttery almost.
You can't see, but Rogers is waiting under the table for crumbs.
And then the butter as a base just brings like a creaminess to the entire thing. It has like a little bit of black salt flavor. Not overpowering at all. It just adds a little bit of richness.
I really like the texture of the jalua.
The black pepper actually adds like a nice surprise of like peppery black pepper like fragrance and flavor into your mouth. It's very heterogeneous. Is that a word? I can do this like every day because we have for the last like 2 or 3 days.
I really like this bread. Sometimes banh mi bread is a little bit too chewy for me personally, and it feels like you're just chewing forever. But this is really good. Like you still get the satisfying crunch, but it's not too much of a mouthful. Like it lets the filling on the inside really shine.
Last bite.
Really good.
Okay, that's cool and all. I bet you guys are biased is what you're thinking right now. But, remember those 3 judges? All non-vegan, all Vietnamese, all told to be absolutely ruthless. Will my banh mi hold up to the discerning Vietnamese palates? Oh, I'm nervous.
The bread is really good.
You like the bread? Took me 2 tries. First time was an absolute failure, but it's really fluffy now, right?
Yeah, just tell me the recipe for the bread.
Yeah. Martha makes banh mi, so Martha approves this one, you know it's good. What do you think, Mom? Does it taste like those like street vendor foods that you get in Vietnam?
Yeah. Thank you, John. The pate jalo is very nice. Not much comment from her. But I like the exterior of this bun. It's really good. Also, the jalo, the texture is really accurate, I would say. It's really good.
I'm glad that
And
all
I
my
like the
efforts.
pate too.
Yeah.
I like how like crispy it is, and like the bread is super airy, and I taste like a lot of black pepper here, which I really like. So.
What would you rate out of 10?
But what am I comparing it to? Am I just like saying, oh,
Like
it's
a regular
bun
banh mi, like
as
you
a
get
regular
from the
banh mi?
Chinatown, the one we used to get as kids.
I'll say 9 out of 10, or even 10, because the bread is really, really good. It's really fluffy. And it's not
Nice.
dense at all. It's actually really crispy and light. I really like that. It's the first thing that shined a lot. I also really like the jalo. That's really good too. The pate is not like I don't like it too irony, so I actually like the pate. Maybe 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. That's a pretty good score considering we're Vietnam.
The jewel very good. Very nice.
It's actually really good. I'll actually give it a 10 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. I think it was a success. Now you guys can just destroy it and be in peace.